The human shuttle landed on the crystal platform of the Velari Imperial Palace with a soft, metallic groan. Compared to the shining silver ships of the Empire, it looked old, tired, and out of place. Velari guards stood waiting with cold eyes. Their tall silver bodies reflected the bright light of the three suns hanging over the capital world. The shuttle door opened, and a single human stepped out. His name was Daniel Cole. He was 34 years old, a sergeant in the United Earth Defense Force. He wore a simple blue dress uniform with silver buttons. No medals, no decoration, no sign of rank beyond the cloth on his shoulder. He had left his medals on Earth on purpose. He was not here to impress anyone. He was here to try and save lives. The palace rose before him like a mountain of living glass. Light passed through it and scattered into colors across the floor. The Velari Empire ruled 40 star systems, and this was the heart of that power. Every wall, every tower, every guard carried the weight of an empire that had crushed 1,000 worlds. Daniel took a slow breath and walked forward. 2 guards met him at the entrance. They were 8 feet tall, their silver skin marked with glowing purple veins. Their armor shifted and changed like living metal. They looked down at Daniel the same way someone might look at a bug on the floor. "You are the human ambassador," one guard said. "I am the representative sent by Earth," Daniel answered calmly. "I am here to speak with Empress Salara about peace." The guards shared a quiet laugh and then walked inside, expecting him to follow. Daniel followed without a word. Inside, the palace was brighter than the outside. The floor looked like frozen starlight. The walls showed moving images from Velari history. Planet after planet falling under their control. Alien armies defeated. Cities burning. Even human colonies appeared. Small red markers showing recent conflicts. Daniel kept his face still. He did not allow his heart to show anything. Nobles and high-ranking officers stared at him as he passed. Some whispered. Some smiled with cruel amusement. A few looked at him as if he were something strange washed up on their doorstep. After a long walk, they reached the throne room. It was enormous. Clouds formed near the ceiling because of how high it was. The silver floor stretched out like an endless sea. And at the far end, floating above a raised platform, sat the throne of the Velari Empire. Empress Salara sat upon it. She was 24 years old, young by human standards, but already 5 years into her rule. Her silver skin glowed softly. Her violet eyes were sharp and cold. Her long white hair flowed down her back like liquid moonlight. She was beautiful, she was dangerous, and she ruled billions. Her council stood behind her, 12 powerful advisors. General Kethvor stood at her right, tall, scarred, and missing an eye replaced by a red crystal that glowed like fire. His look toward Daniel was pure hatred. Daniel stopped at the respectful distance and bowed his head. He did not kneel. Humans did not kneel. "So," the Empress said. Her voice was smooth and cold, like a blade of crystal. "This is what Earth sends us." Quote. A smile grew on her lips. It was not friendly. "One tired soldier," she continued. "No general, no diplomat, not even a captain, a common sergeant." Laughter spread through the council. Daniel did not react. "Tell me, human," she said as she leaned forward. "Do your people truly think one man can negotiate with an empire that has crushed 1,000 worlds, or did they send you here to die quietly?" More laughter. Daniel waited until the room grew still again. "I am here to talk, Your Majesty," he said calmly. "Earth hopes we can find a path to peace. I carry no threats, only words." Salara watched him closely. Her smile faded slightly, replaced with curiosity. "Hope," she repeated. "Your species is famous for that. You hope when logic says to stop. You fight when you should surrender." She rose from her throne and glided down until her feet touched the floor. Her silver gown shimmered like liquid metal as she stepped toward him. Her guards tensed, but she waved them still. She stopped just 3 feet from Daniel. "I have studied your species," she said. "You live short lives, 80 years, maybe 100. We live for 1,000. In the time it takes us to grow bored, your entire civilization can rise and fall." She lifted his chin gently with her fingers. "Why should I take you seriously?" she asked. "Why should I listen to a mayfly?" Daniel met her eyes without fear. "Because mayflies feel pain when they die," he said softly, "and so do the children they leave behind." For the first time, something flickered in her violet eyes. A crack in her cold expression. A small emotion she tried to hide. She stepped back and returned to her throne. "We will discuss terms tomorrow," she said. "Tonight you will be taken to your quarters. Try not to break anything. Everything here is worth more than your planet." The council laughed again. Daniel bowed his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty." As he was led away, the great doors closed behind him. Empress Salara watched him go, her eyes thoughtful. There was something different about this human, something she could not yet understand. But she would. The next morning, everything would begin to change. The guards arrived at Daniel's door early in the morning. Their crystal armor shined with soft blue light as they escorted him through the same long hallways. He expected another day of insults. Another day of being placed in the center of the circular council chamber like a specimen under study. But when the doors opened, something was different. The throne room was empty. No nobles, no advisors, no whispers. Only the Empress seated alone on her floating throne, and 4 guards standing silently at the corners. Daniel stepped forward and bowed his head. "Your Majesty." Salara did not answer right away. She wore white today instead of silver. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders. She looked softer, almost human in the morning light, but her eyes held something heavy and unreadable. Then she spoke. "Leave us." The guards looked uneasy. They hesitated. She repeated the order, firmer this time. Soon the great doors closed behind them, leaving Daniel and the Empress alone in the vast, silent room. Salara stood and walked toward him, not floating, not gliding, but walking. Her bare feet touched the cold, crystal floor as she stopped a few steps from him. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. "I know who you are now. I know what happened to your family." Daniel did not move, but something inside him tightened. "May I ask how?" he said. "I have people who find things," she replied. "They found your file, your history, your daughter's name." Daniel lowered his eyes for a moment. "Her name was Lucy," he said softly. "I know," Salara whispered. "And your wife was Amy." "Yes." Silence filled the vast room, thick and suffocating. Salara's throat tightened. The guilt inside her was sharp and cold. Then, the truth slipped from her lips before she could stop it. "I gave the order. The bombardment of Haven's Rest. It was my command. I killed your family." Daniel looked at her fully for the first time since he arrived. His eyes were dark and steady. He did not step back. He did not raise his voice. He did not let anger control him. "I know," he said. She stared at him in confusion. "You knew, and still you came here?" "Yes." "Why?" she burst out. "You should hate me. You should want me dead. I destroyed everything you loved. How can you stand there and speak of peace?" Daniel took a breath, a slow, steady breath that carried years of pain. "Because Lucy would not have wanted me to hate you," he said. Those words struck Salara harder than any weapon. Tears gathered in her violet eyes. She blinked them away, but more came. Daniel continued. "She was 7 years old. She loved the stars. Every night she sat by the window and watched the ships go by. She asked me about aliens. She wanted to know if they were kind. I told her yes. I told her that someday humans and aliens would be friends." He looked down at his scarred hands. "When she heard about the war, she was confused. She asked why we were fighting. I didn't have a real answer, so she made me promise something." His voice trembled for the first time. "She made me promise that I would try to make friends, that I would choose peace when I could. She believed the universe was full of good people. I want to prove that she was right." He lifted his eyes and met the Empress's gaze. That is why I came, Salara. Not for politics, not for revenge, for her. Salara could no longer hold back her tears. They rolled down her silver cheeks silently. She had never cried in front of anyone. She had been raised to be strong, to be unshakable, but Daniel's words broke through every shield she had ever built. She wiped her face and spoke with a shaking voice. The peace talks will continue. You have my word. We will find a way to end this war. Daniel nodded. Thank you, Your Majesty. Call me Salara. He hesitated, then nodded again. Thank you, Salara. She wanted to say more. She wanted to apologize, to fall to her knees and beg for forgiveness. But she knew nothing could undo what she had done. Instead, she took a step back and steadied herself. Go home, Daniel Cole, she said. Tell Earth the war is over. Tell them the Velari Empire seeks peace. Daniel bowed once more and turned to leave. His footsteps echoed across the silent floor. His figure grew small as he walked toward the tall doors. Salara watched him until he disappeared behind them. When the doors closed, she fell to her knees on the cold crystal floor. For the second time in her life, Empress Salara Vithkin wept for someone she had wronged and for the galaxy she had helped break. 6 months passed like wind over open water. The galaxy changed in ways no one had ever imagined. The Velari Empire and the United Earth Coalition signed the Treaty of Velara, ending the long and bloody conflict. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Velari agreed to a peace that did not require absolute surrender. Humans kept their colonies, they kept their freedom. They were named equals among the stars. Billions celebrated across human space. But the man responsible for that peace was far from the crowds and cameras. Daniel Cole had gone home. His transport ship traveled for weeks through the silent void. Daniel spent most of the journey alone, watching the stars pass by. He carried no pride, no excitement, only a quiet ache in his heart and a hope he barely understood. When he reached Earth, he took a small shuttle to Cedar Falls, the quiet farming town where he had been born. The fields were golden again. The houses were small and peaceful. It was exactly as he remembered, and yet it was not the same at all. He walked slowly through town. People recognized him, but they did not disturb him. They saw the heaviness in his eyes. They knew he needed space. At the edge of town stood the house he had built with Amy. The garden was overgrown. The paint was fading. The swing set Lucy used to play on was covered in rust. Daniel stood at the gate for a long time before he opened it and stepped inside. The house was silent. Sheets covered furniture like pale ghosts. Dust floated through beams of sunlight. But each room still carried echoes of Amy's laughter and Lucy's small footsteps. Daniel walked to his daughter's room last. He stood in the doorway, unable to move. The walls were painted soft pink. Her drawings still hung there. Stars, rockets, smiling aliens. Her toys rested quietly on shelves, and on her bed lay her stuffed rabbit, worn from years of love. Daniel picked it up and held it close to his chest. There, in the quiet room, he cried. He cried for Amy. He cried for Lucy. He cried for a future that never arrived. Grief washed through him like a storm breaking stone. When the tears finally ended, he gently placed the rabbit back on the pillow. Then he began to rebuild. Over the next weeks, he fixed the roof, repainted the walls, cleared the garden, and repaired the swing set. People from town came to help. They brought tools, food, and simple kindness. They worked beside him in silence, respecting his grief. By summer, the house looked alive again. Not like before. Nothing could ever be like before. But it was a home. Daniel spent his days tending the garden, reading, and walking the fields at dawn and dusk. He asked for no attention. He refused interviews. He avoided politics. He simply lived one day at a time, carrying his pain and his promise. Far across the galaxy, the Velari Empire changed too. Stories of Daniel Cole spread among the Velari people. They learned of a human soldier who stood before their rulers without fear, a man who lost everything yet chose hope, a father who carried peace in his heart. Young Velari began studying human culture. curious about the species that produced such a man. On the anniversary of the peace treaty, Empress Salara gave a speech to the entire empire. "I once believed strength meant warships and conquered worlds," she said. "I was wrong." Her voice echoed through every Velari city, every starship, every colony. True strength is found in the heart, in courage that chooses peace when war is easier, in compassion for those we once called enemies. She paused, and emotion filled her violet eyes. "A human taught me this. His name is Daniel Cole. He is the bravest person I have ever met. And as long as I rule, his lesson will guide my hand." Billions heard those words, but Daniel did not. He sat on his porch in Cedar Falls, watching the stars appear one by one. The evening breeze was gentle. The land was quiet. He thought of Amy's smile and Lucy's laughter, memories both painful and precious. In his garden, a single starflower bloomed, a Velari hybrid, a gift from the Empire. It glowed softly in the dusk, blue and silver light shimmering like a piece of the galaxy had fallen into his yard. Daniel looked at it and smiled. Somewhere out in the stars, Lucy would be smiling too. She had believed humans and aliens could be friends. She had believed the universe could be kinder, and now, because of her father's promise, that universe existed. Not perfect, not painless, but real. And that was enough.